What the book says about tithing, the mistake that many preachers have made, they narrow tithing down to money.
That's right.
Tithing is more than money.
That's right.
Tithing is also not just money, but it's also with land and possession.
I'm going to show you that in the Bible, what they're telling you about tithes is false. And a lot of them probably know this, but they just want some money. I'm going to show you what tithes are and who are they for and why. Now, let's start off in 2 Chronicles 31, verse 5. And it says, "And as soon as the commandment came abroad, the children of Israel were brought in abundance of the first fruits of corn, wine, oil, and honey, and of the increase of the field, and they tithe, and the tithe of all things brought they in abundantly." Now, as we'll read through the scriptures, you'll find out that tithes are actually not money, they're food. And look at this, it says, the first fruit of corn, wine, oil, honey, and of the increase of the field. The increase of the field, you know, that's food. All these are foods.
What the book says.
Will a man rob God?
At least he's honest enough to admit it.
That's right.
Many of you devils watching me, you rob God all the time. God has blessed you with a job making good money. You done good on your investments. You done good on your returns. And you just keep robbing God moreover.
That's right.
You complain about these false churches, but you send them your money.
Amen.
No, we'll go to Matthew 23. We'll go to Matthew 23. And we're going to start at verse 23. And it says, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you pay the tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and I will admit the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone." Notice it says the tithe of mint, anise, and cumin. All these are foods that you eat, not money. Okay? Now, let's go to Leviticus chapter 30. This will also show you that tithes are food. And we'll know Leviticus 27. Leviticus 27, and then we'll start at verse 30. And it says, "And all the tithe of the land, whether it was seed or land, or the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's. It is holy unto the Lord." The tithe of the land, that's where food grows from. The seed of the land, food comes from seeds, or the fruit of the tree, all foods, okay? Tithes are not money, they're food.
"Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse,
And what?
that there may be meat in mine house.
And
prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts,
what?
If I will not open you the windows of heaven." And
why would anyone be scared to give God?
That's right. That's right. Why?
Prove that you love God by giving to Him.
Amen.
that's right.
Not no $10 prayer line, $30 prayer line, $40. No, we ain't talking about that.
That's right.
Give God what's due Him.
Amen.
Offering, tithing, and sacrifice.
That's right.
right.
And yourself.
Deuteronomy chapter 14. Let's actually see where money actually had to do something with tithes. Deuteronomy 14, verse 22, and it says, "Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed that the field bring forth year by year." Notice the increase of thy seed. That's food that the field bring forth year by year. Food comes from the field. "And thou shalt eat," you can only eat food, "before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose to place his name there. The tithe of the corn, which is food, of thy wine, which is food, and of thine oil, which is food, and the firstlings of thy herds, food, and of thy flocks, food, that thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God always." Okay, now this is the part where tithes, money had something to do with tithes. "And if the way be too long for thee, so that thou art not able to carry it, or if the place be too far from thee, which Lord thy God shall choose the place, Lord thy God shall choose to set his name there, when the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, then thou shalt turn it into money and bind in thine hand, and thou shalt turn it into money and bind up the money in thine hand, and shalt go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, and shall bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, for oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatsoever thy soul desireth. And thou shalt eat there before the Lord thy God, and thou shalt rejoice, thou and thine household." Notice it says, you have the tithe, which is food. If you're trying to get it to go somewhere, you're trying to bring it wherever you needed to go, and it was too hard for you to get there with the tithe, You could turn it into money. Then when you got where you need to go, you would turn it back into food. The money thing was just so it would be easier to carry it. Okay? Tithes were always food. So you turn back to food. And the Levite that was within thy gates, thou shalt not forsake him, for he hath no part nor inheritance with thee. The tithes were for the Levites because they didn't have an inheritance. Now, to further, let's go to Joshua chapter 14 to help you further understand this. Joshua chapter 14 verse 3. For Moses had given the inheritance of 2 tribes, and an half tribe on the other side of Jordan, but unto the Levites he gave them none inheritance among them. For Moses had given the inheritance of 2 tribes, for the children of Joseph were 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. Therefore they gave no part unto the Levites in the land, save the cities of dwelling with their suburbs for their cattle and for their substance. See, the children of Joseph were 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim, so they didn't have the land for the Levites. Now the Levites, they were the priests. Most High chose them to be priests. Now their inheritance was in the priesthood, doing all the sacrifices and all that stuff for the people. So the Levites, they didn't have inheritance. This is why they received tithes. Now, if all you're doing is sacrificing all day, and you don't have land, and you don't have time, even if you have land, you don't have time to grow food on the land. Well, they didn't have land, so, okay. They got tithes so that they could eat. Alright? And the tithes are only for the Levites.